Hi everyone, I'm Luke Hector and this is The Broken Meeple, a show where I devote my time to ranting and raving about board games, but usually more the ranting part. Got a quickie little two-player game here from Drander Games, and I think for the foreign market board game Circus. This is purely two players. It is pure area control. It is very much in-your-face area control, so no sitting on the back seat and hoping to be a pacifist here. But the idea is that this is meant to be 20 minutes, very quick, very simple, and not a lot of table space. This was demoed at Essen alongside the other games, and yes, for full context, I helped Drander Games demo some of their games, at UK Games Expo and Essen this year, particularly Jackpot. That was like the main focus, but I also showed this to a few people as well, and also got to play it quite a few times while I was there, and also while back home. So, nice little speed review. Let me tell you what's what.
Wingers, dingus, listen up.
Lost Lumina is a game of two phases. First off, you need to select your heroes, which comprise of this deck of unique character cards, each with their own stats and special powers. Before the game starts, each of you and your opponent will take place in a drafting phase, which is where you will both take two cards on the top of the deck, pick one of these to keep for yourself, and give the opponent the other one. This will repeat 5 times. So the idea is that you will effectively have chosen 5 cards for yourself, but then you will have given 5 cards to the opponent. So you know half their hand, but you don't know the other half. Each of you will end up with 10 cards in your starting hand as a result. Then comes the second part, the whole area control system. There are 3 regions split up into 3 areas apiece, and the scoring at the end is very straightforward. Basically, as you control these areas, if you control more of a region than the opponent, then each of your followers is worth 2 points, otherwise it's worth 1. Apply that to all 3 regions and score as appropriately. But the way that the main part of the game plays out is that each of you will take in turns to play a card from your hand. They have 2 stats on them. One is an action point value and a scroll, and the other one is a paw print for battle value, and each has a combat related special ability. And the idea is you'll play, let's say I play Rukan here, the fox character, for 3 action points. Each action point allows me to either bolster an area with another follower that I've got, or take as many followers as I like from a particular region and move them into an adjacent one. Should you go somewhere where the opponent is, that's when a combat will break out. Each of you and the opponent will take a hero character card from your hand, place them face down, and reveal at the same time. You will then compare several aspects. Firstly, each one has a combat ability that will key off at some phase during the combat. But mainly, you will compare the paw value, so I've got 7 here and 2 on this one. You will then count the number of followers you have in that area, so 3 here and 1 for the pink player. And then each of you will roll a number of dice equal to the number of followers you have in the area. And from that, you'll pick the highest die that you roll out of all of them. I believe Ryan Lockett uses this system quite a bit in some of his games. And then once you've got those values, you compare them together. Lowest person loses all their followers in that region, and the highest wins that area. And the idea is that this whole back and forth, attacking each other, moving around and playing the cards, carries on until all players have used up 10 of their cards. So they start off with 10 and both players have used them all up. If you get wiped off the board, well, then you lose automatically. I mean, go figure. But typically what will happen is all the cards run out and then you total up the points. Quick and easy.
Super easy, barely an inconvenience.
Straightforward, right? And that's kind of one of this game's major pros. It is a very simple game to teach and play. I mean, we had to demo this, mainly Sarah Shah, but myself also had to do this at Essen, and it takes barely a minute or 2 to explain the rules to people, and they can just quickly get into the game. The whole scoring system, nice and straightforward. Do you control most areas in the region? 2 points, if not 1 point. Nice and straightforward, just rinse, repeat 3 times. Even the combat is pretty straightforward. A paw value, a die value, and number of followers. Again, just compare the 2. You may think that just sounds really too bare bones simple, but the depth of this game comes in these character cards, because this is all unique. You're not going to use every single one of them in every game, but there'll be a few left over. But each one is unique, and they have very different styles of abilities and paw values. I mean, you might think something with a 9 paw value is particularly is an awesome character, and 5 action points. Well, it is pretty good. But then there are some with lower values that do allow you to do some really cool shenanigans. But the depth of this game is really the selection of this, because at the start of the game you're doing that draft phase with draw 2 and keep 1. So the opponent does not know 5 of the heroes that are in my hand, but I had to give away 5 heroes to the opponent, so I know that these 5 are in their hand. I have to expect that they're going to be used against me at some point. And that is where a lot of the quality of this game lies, in using these hero cards. The game, literally just 2 players, there's no solo mode, and it's a 20-minute game. If that. I mean, you can finish a game of this in 10 minutes, 15 minutes if you go at a pretty good quick pace, but 20 minutes absolute tops maybe for your first game, but maybe quarter of an hour. So it's a perfect filler length. That is what this game is trying to be, a 2-player light filler game that pretty much anybody who plays games can play. With 1 or 2 caveats in mind though. One of the problems this game does have is that it's not especially new player friendly. Now you might think, well hang on, didn't you just say this was easy light game for new players? Well yes, from a rules perspective it is, but this game rewards further plays. It rewards in that line of depth, because yes, it's an easy game to pick up, yes, it's an easy game to play, but if you've played this game more times than the opponent has, you're gonna have a distinct advantage because of the nature of these hero cards. There's only so many of them, and it will be cool if later down the line they release more packs for these. That would be great. Just bring out another pack of 25 heroes and then you could just mix them all together. But they've all got unique abilities, and you kind of need to know how they work and be able to kind of remember which ones you gave your opponent. Now, if you're not very good at remembering stuff that the opponent has, that's going to hinder you in this game. But also, if you have more familiarity with what these heroes do, like if I draw the spider character, yes, annoyingly, there's a spider in here, but I've seen creepier looking spiders. But if I've given you a Racco, the spider, if I already know, oh yeah, that's a high pull value and it's got that ability or something, then that's a distinct advantage over you giving me the, the Rapoda Panda, for example, and not having any clue what it did, maybe not even understanding its ability, you just gave me the card. I distinctly have a bigger advantage than you. So it's going to reward further plays, but I think this game is best suited for 2 people who are going to play this with each other a lot. Like, I could see myself maybe hanging on to this game as a way to just show somebody a new game. But I don't think it would be a good fit in my collection, because it's 2 players that play a lot of games together that's going to get the most benefit out of this. I can think of other 2-player games I'd probably rather show somebody very new to games, because we might still at least be on a fairly equal playing field, or I don't have a critical advantage over them. Here though, I have a very distinct advantage over them because I'm going to know the cards better. But other than that though, it's produced really well. It's not an expensive game. It comes in a small box. The rule book is very easy to learn the rules to this game, and it's got pretty much everything you need to know on the back of the book as a reference, but you probably won't even need that. The only thing that you might need to refer to is what the phases of the combat are for some of the abilities. Tells you right there on the back of the cover. Just keep this in front of you and you're good. But you've got translucent thick dice, you've got screen printed meeples with like a little, is either a tanuki or a raccoon, I'm not sure which of the two, and the other one, which I gotta admit, I do look at the front of this and I question if it is an owl, but that's what it's meant to be. It's meant to be the, that owl in front of the box. It's wearing a cloak. But I gotta admit, when I look at the front of these pink meeples, I sometimes find it hard to distinguish that it's an owl without looking at the picture. But yeah, minor. That's just weirdness. It's not a gripe against the game at all, because I mean, you've got the translucent dice, you've got the followers, and you have got some gorgeous art. I mean, that box is already a nice looking cover, but the artwork on these cards is, mwah, yeah, it is lovely. I like this. This is some of the best art I have seen this year from games. It just looks detailed, it looks colourful. Each of these characters looks very distinct. It's just very nice. Balance-wise for the heroes, not bad. There are 1 or 2 that I do think maybe are a little bit too strong compared to others, but when you're familiar with the game, you see them pop up, and there are ways to counteract them. You might have a really powerful character in here, but then something might say, well, we don't care about the power of your character, we only care about number of followers. Oh look, I have more than you. So there are ways to get around that, but then that comes down to depth of play, being able to recognize these heroes and be prepared for the tactical getting in your opponent's head, like, are they going to play that card or are they going to hold it back? There's a good element of that here, but again, if you're brand new to this game against somebody who isn't, you're going to get creamed pretty much each time. There's not many occasions where the lesser player is going to somehow pull out a win. So that's a little gripe. But apart from that, it does exactly what it sets out to do. It's quick and easy, it's 2-player, it's in your face, it's area control. Not one of my favourite mechanics ever, I'll admit, but it's pretty bare bones area control. I mean, you don't have special abilities on the regions or anything like that. It's not overcomplicated. It's just, I want 2 people to go head to head, like head to head, just butt heads, and, be done in 15-20 minutes. And for that, it does an admirable job. It's just maybe not one that I'm gonna play over and over again, and it certainly doesn't maybe suit my typical collection, but it certainly, I think, is a perfect fit for a board game cafe. And I think if you are somebody playing with your spouse regularly so that you can both get into this game, I think it will suit just fine. I'm giving it a solid 8 out of 10. It's a great game, probably not like the most amazing game ever, but it looks the part, it's produced well, it does the job, and it's ticking the boxes. Just maybe bear those little caveats in mind. So that's it from me on this episode of The Broken Meeple. If you like what you see, then please thumb it up on YouTube and thumb it up on Board Game Geek when it goes live on the page. Check out the rest of my content. There is plenty of reviews coming. The Orloy, I think, was the most recent big review I've done. And of course, I've done Sanctuary and Arigato as well. And on the horizon, we've got Wispwood, we've got Origin Story. There's a lot of games besides. I am pretty busy this post-Essen period. So until next time, remember, regardless of whether you can tell that this guy is an owl or not, it's still only a game. So bye for now.